The expert explained why the US will not impose sanctions against Russia. The economic sanctions which frighten Russia every day tell a lot about the impotence of the United States. Otherwise it would have imposed them long ago. But the thing that stops Washington is that the sanctions will hit hard not only the United States, but mainly its European allies. Alexander Shirov, director of the Institute of Economic Forecasting, told RIA Novosti. All of Washington's rhetoric about sanctions is getting fed up. When I hear them, I recall the saying, "I'll freeze my ears off to spite my mother." By acting in spite of us, they are doing themselves a disservice. And while the sanctions they keep talking about are serious in themselves, they will not impose them. For one simple reason: Russia is not Iran. Russia is the largest country, the sixth largest economy in the world, without which it is impossible to imagine international economic relations today, he said. The West has been talking about disconnecting Russia from the SWIFT financial system for 6 years, Shirov noted. And what's holding them back? Yes, the fact that, in fact, it's a self-shot. They will harm themselves with what they will pay for our gas, oil, coal, metals the next day after Moscow's disconnection from SWIFT. We have already created an alternative system, which the central bank can easily run, noted the director of the Institute of Economic Forecasting. Expert assessed Russian banks' readiness for new sanctions. According to Shirov, all the threats of the West that it is allegedly ready to completely refuse supplies of Russian gas and oil do not stand up to criticism either. You can say what you like, but when the pipes in Europeans' homes start bursting from the cold, they are unlikely to thank their leaders for this. Washington is not concerned about this. It doesn't need Russian hydrocarbons, but Europe depends on them. Some countries can't do without them at all. Germany, for example, maintains its high competitiveness in the world market, thanks to our gas, he said. As for another frequently heard anti-Russian measure, a ban on the sale of electronics for household appliances, according to Shirov, first, the US would lose a huge Russian market, and second, all these chips, microchips, can now be replaced, for example, in China. In short, it is clear to me that by constantly talking about economic sanctions, the West is actually trying to exert, first of all, information and psychological pressure. This is on the one hand. On the other hand, if the West decides to impose hellish sanctions against Russia, it could lead to the crossing of red lines, beyond which a direct conflict becomes real, he concluded. Shooting suspect apprehended in U.S. Houston police said on Twitter that they had detained a suspect in a shooting that left at least 3 police officers with gunshot wounds. Earlier, it was reported that the shooting occurred near Houston's downtown business district in the state of Texas. 3 police officers were wounded, and the suspect fled the scene. The suspect has just been apprehended, local police said in a statement. Before the arrest, police reported that the suspect barricaded himself inside the building, before firing several more shots at law enforcement officers. The U.S. has revealed the purpose of convening a UN Security Council meeting on Ukraine. The United States wants to discuss Russia's alleged threatening behavior toward Ukraine, and the buildup of the Russian military presence on the border. At the UN Security Council meeting on Monday, U.S. Permanent Representative to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield said in a statement, Russia categorically denies such plans of alleged escalation and threatening behavior attributed to it, and has consistently stated that it does not threaten anyone. Earlier, a RIA Novosti source in the Security Council reported that the U.S. requested a UN Security Council meeting on the situation around Ukraine. Today, after weeks of close consultations with Ukraine and partners in the Security Council, the United States called for an open meeting of the Security Council to discuss an issue of critical importance to international peace and security: Russia's threatening behavior toward Ukraine and the Russian troop buildup on the border with Ukraine and in Belarus, the statement said. According to the U.S. Post-President, Security Council members should fully examine the facts and consider what would be at stake for Ukraine, Russia, Europe, and the basic obligations and principles of the international order should Russia invade Ukraine. Russia has repeatedly denied accusations of aggressive actions from the West and Ukraine, saying that it does not threaten anyone and is not going to attack anyone, and statements about Russian aggression are used as a pretext to place more NATO military equipment near Russian borders. The Russian Foreign Ministry earlier noted that Western statements about Russian aggression and the possibility of helping Kiev defend itself against it are both ridiculous and dangerous. At the same time, Kiev and Western states have recently expressed concern about the alleged intensification of aggressive actions on the part of Russia near Ukraine's borders. Russian Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov stated that Russia moves troops within its territory and at its own discretion. According to him, this does not threaten anyone and no one should be concerned.